they were all based, every single thing in Egypt was based on the river Nile, because people call it the gift of Egypt. It was like a gift to them. Water, crops, everything that they got was from the Nile. So they worshipped the Nile like it was some kind of god. So Daddy, they got the crops and all. The Nile is full of water, so that's how they got their water. They got their fish, meat. They even got their food because the Nile floods every single day, and Nile is full of black silt. Black silt is if you mix black silt with soil, it becomes very, very fertile. So when the Nile flooded every single year, it put the black silt into the soil. So that's why people plant their crops on the river banks of Nile. And Nile is the longest river, so they had plenty of space to plant crops. And they even got papyrus. They didn't know how to make paper because it takes lots of time and machinery and all. So they used papyrus plants to make papyrus. Papyrus is like a cloth, but they use it as paper. And after those two kingdoms, the first Pharaoh of Egypt was Narmer. He's the one who united the upper kingdom and lower kingdom, because there were lots of wars there. So he became the first Pharaoh because he united those two kingdoms.
Do you know what year it happened?
No, in grade 4 we don't
know the dates.
Revise the dates.
Okay.
We have memory loss.
Okay, then what happened?
So after Narmer took over, he died, and then there was other pharaohs, but the next I know is Djoser. He was the first pharaoh which built a pyramid. He built a step pyramid. Not that steep pyramid which you see now. He built a step pyramid, the first pyramid. Then the other pharaohs also followed his steps, and Djoser made a step pyramid because he believed that he needed the steps to walk up to heaven. And they also removed all of the hearts and brains of the pharaohs and people of Egypt, because they believed in afterlife. They believed that you need treasures. That's why they mummified and kept the body preserved. And they also believed that if your heart was very heavy, they removed the heart because they believe that if you have a heart, it'll increase your weight, and if you were light, you will go to heaven, and if you were very heavy, then you'll go to hell. So that's why they would remove all unnecessary fat, heart and brain. They used to also remove organs, and they also put lots of food, and they buried with treasures. And they use, and now archaeologists, when they touch the mummies, the mummies turn into dust, and they use those dust to create medicines. And there's thousands of mummies, and people still mummify bodies today also. And the sarcophagus, it's the coffin which the pharaohs are kept in. Pharaohs are kept in a sarcophagus the size of them. Sarcophagus is decorated with a bunch of hieroglyphics, which is Egyptian writing, and they also covered it with nice paintings. Like in Narmer, he was buried with a capstone, I think, and that capstone had a drawing of him holding a hand of the Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt because he united them. And pharaohs also symbolized their power, like they had headgear, like the blue and yellow strap thing on their head, which had two snakes, which was believed to spit fire on their enemies. And this symbolized their power. And they also had long beards, which nobody has in Egypt. And it took a lot of haircuts to make that long beard. And now if you see the sarcophagus of the pharaohs today, you can see that there's a long beard till its tummy. So, Djoser built a step pyramid. Khufu built the Great Pyramid of Giza. He didn't want steps and all, so he made it smooth, which took lots of architecture. And then other pharaohs also thought that smooth was better. But the Khufu's Great Pyramid was the biggest. It's always decreasing in size because it's so long. The golden capstone has been missing. The golden capstone is a cube. No, it's a cone of gold at the top of the pyramid. It shines, which puts light on the pyramid when the moon is there, so the workers could work. But now it's gone because there's been tomb raiding and people breaking into the pyramids and stealing all of the gold and diamonds which were buried with the pharaohs for their afterlife. Cleopatra, she was the second female pharaoh. She was the last pharaoh of Egypt. And another female pharaoh is Hatshepsut. It's very hard to pronounce it. And she also was another female pharaoh. Then we have Tutankhamun. He became pharaoh when he was 9. After his father, Pharaoh Akhenaten died. Akhenaten, he was a very, very bad pharaoh. He didn't do that much good things. So the gods of Egypt were like Ra, the sun god. There are lots of goddesses of death, goddesses of bravery, goddesses of sun, goddesses of rain. They had a goddess of rain because they wanted rain for the crops, because sometimes the river Nile didn't flood. It only flooded once a year, so the rest of the year they just hoped rain would come. So they kept on praying to the gods until Akhenaten came. He was very selfish, so he took the last part of his name, Aten, and he demolished all of the old temples and he made a new god, Aten. He is Akhenaten, so he made it Aten. The one and only god of Egypt, Aten. So he demolished all the temples and restricted anybody from worshipping the old religion. And he told that none of you could pray to Aten. You have to tell me all of your worries, and I am the only person who could pray to Aten. Then, if you see the social pyramid, this was the pharaoh, the vizier, the priest, and noble. So the priests were no more because the old religion was changed. After Aten died, the Aten's son, Tutankhamun, he took the throne, And he restored the old religion and built back all of the temples and put back the priests. And he became king. He became Pharaoh when only 9 years old. And he died to malaria when he was 18 years old. And he ruled for only 9 years. He was barely, when scientists saw his sarcophagus, it was below 5 feet, which showed that he was very, very short pharaoh, which showed that Egyptians were very, very short. And the soldiers, the pharaohs like Tutankhamun was believed to never lose a battle. And the end of Egypt happened when Alexander the Great took over. It was a very, very hard battle because Egypt is like China, inventing lots of things. They got swords and they got bows and arrows, and they got gold, and they even knew how to melt gold and turn it into the golden capstone jewelry. And if you see, Egyptian jewelry is the oldest jewelry. That's why people steal it. They even steal a sarcophagus and sell it. And Tutankhamun is still intact. And Narmer, the first Pharaoh's sarcophagus was never found because the sarcophagus was found it was very, very huge. And it happened because Narmer was killed by a hippopotamus. So they could not get him back from the poop and all of the hippopotamus. So they just mummified the hippopotamus. That's why Narmer's was never found, because he was eaten by hippopotamus. And Nile had lots of crocodiles, hippopotamus and all. So that's why if children make it, when they grow up, children will become soldiers, government officials, because children, when they are born, they don't wear any clothes. They're just naked. And they have to go to that until they're 18 years old. They should be naked until they're 18 years old. Then they get their clothes and all. And then they'll be very, very respected, because there's lots of crocodiles, snakes, hippopotamuses, lots of insects, mosquitoes, fireflies. There's many things in ancient Egypt, and that was a desert, so there'll be thousands and thousands of scorpions. So if a child survives, they'll be very, very respected, because they're a child and they don't have that much experience, so they will die very easily. That's why children are very respected in Egypt. And workers' homes were very simple. It was just a mud. Workers didn't have houses like pharaohs and all, government officials. They just had a simple home, like craftsmen, slaves and peasants. Their home was made of mud bricks. Their home was very simple, but it was planned to the daily life of Egypt. It's very, very hot in Egypt, so they had mud. They made mud. They're the one who invented mud with straw bricks, because they couldn't make concrete, because it's very, very, very hot in Egypt. So mud was like a isolation. That's why we put mud there and all, right? Because we want it to be cool in the house. They have lots of high windows, and they have more windows than anybody could ever have, because they don't want to keep the heat in their house. And in the house there'll be a living room, a bedroom, a kitchen, and a front gate. And behind the front gate there'll be lots of geese, and there'll be like a brick wall, like a very very small room, the one it takes to fit one person in. In that room they store all of their grains, hay and all, which they get from the merchants. And slaves and peasants, which work as farmers and workers, they never get to keep what they earn. Like if they're farmers, they can't keep the crops. So they give it to the merchants. The merchants give it to the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh divides it among every single Egyptian. And they keep all of the grain in that place. And in the kitchen, there was not gas and all. They just used wood to cook. And if you see merchants were also very respected, and they were going in ships and all with. And the Nile, the importance of Nile was one, transport, because boats were used in Egypt, because River Nile was very long and they could transport easily. There was no roads in Egypt. There was only River Nile. So they used, as currency, they just traded items, and they traded boats usually, because it was like a currency in Egypt, because not many people had the tools to make boats. So that's why whoever made boats could trade it with gold and all. And the trades there was very, very unusual, like trading boats for gold and diamonds, and trading stone for gold and diamonds. The trades were very, very not useful, but Egyptians knew that gold is very shiny and shiny objects. So they liked gold, silver, diamonds, jewelry, emeralds, rubies, and they used all of this to make nice jewelry for the Pharaoh. They even melted gold and applied that as paint on the Pharaoh's dress, and they put jewelry like lapis, and the pyramids had lots of routes to confuse the people who raid the tomb and steal all the treasures and steal the sarcophagus. They even had lots of traps, like in one chamber, if you open up the sarcophagus to touch the mummy and get the mummy dust, the roof will collapse. That's how good they were in engineering. And the front of the Pyramid of Giza, people always take the back route, because if you go to the front route, you'll fall into a pit, and then spikes come and close on you. So, and there's also red smoke which goes and affect your lungs and you die. And there's lots of cages in pyramids full of scorpions, and there's lots of pressure plates. So if you step on one, the scorpion cages will open up and the scorpions will attack you. And there's also scorpion nests in the pyramids, because sometimes when people come into the pyramid, the scorpions just come out. They don't leave. So they make a nest and stay there. So that's why many of the cages now in the pyramid is empty, because many people have set the alarm. And they also put lots of traps in Egypt, in the pyramid, and they've also put lots of tunnels to confuse everybody. Like if you're coming in, you'll be like, which route to go? There's like thousands of tunnels which people have still not discovered yet. And there's lots of fake chambers of tombs. There's some fake chambers because they don't want. And Cleopatra's tomb has still not been found. It's intact. And some people have found it now. And if you see, not even a little bit of mummy dust has been taken. The tombs and treasures have not been robbed of cleaning of Cleopatra. So it's very important for us to study the tombs and treasures, because it tells us what obstacles the pharaohs faced when they were ruling, and it tells us about their daily life, like how they shared their crops and how they lived in ancient Egypt due to the weather. So Egypt is a very good civilization, and the punishments there was execution if you didn't do your work for peasants and slaves. And the pharaoh, many pharaohs have been assassinated. Yeah, but many Egyptians did not kill the pharaohs because they're soldiers and all, and it's very hard for people to build a pyramid like how ancient Egyptians built. So that's why the way they built is still undiscovered. And it's very hard to believe that the ancient Egyptians, whenever they built a pyramid, none of them took second chances. Like if you build a pyramid and it collapses, then you build it again and then it stays. They never had a pyramid collapse. They just built it and then it stayed there for 4,000 years without collapsing.
It's amazing.
None of the pyramids have collapsed, and they keep on growing darker. So one day the pyramids will collapse, but not like in another 100 years it will collapse, because it's starting to get darker and darker, and it's becoming less stronger, because as the dust falls on the pyramid, it becomes darker. It was one time white and now it's becoming brown. It was one time white. It was colored. They built it with that bricks, the stone bricks. And after they finished building the pyramid, they covered it with limestone to make it smooth. That's why nobody is allowed to go into the pyramid and step on the pyramid, because it could fall, break. So that's why they put a safety tape around the pyramid, and that's why people are supposed to watch. You could step on the step pyramid, but not on any pyramid else, because the step pyramid was built strong. It's built with steps, but this is smooth pyramids, and it could collapse any minute.
That's amazing, Zaki. I love this story of Egypt.
But the pyramids was never built with slaves. The Bible it told that Israelites were used as slaves, but that was at the end. It is actually correct that they took Israel as slavery, but for pyramids, they never took slaves' help. It was because the slaves, if they do a mistake, then everything is gone. And slaves doesn't like because they don't want to be took as slaves and all. So that's why they didn't do their best. Unless they threatened to do their best. So they took the slavery of Israel. They used slaves to work as workers, house cleaning and all.
Yeah.
And
But the pyramids were built by the...
very, very skilled workers.
Mm.
But they only knew one method of how, based on the drawings on what they have in the tombs of the pharaohs, one drawing shows a person pouring a pot or something on the sand while thousands of workers are pulling a statue. So this shows one method. So it's just a slave with a bunch of so all of the pyramids were built close to the river Nile because all of the stone, they took the stone from the river Nile banks. They took that and they kept it on a sleigh, and if you see, when you pour water on mud or sand, the particles separate, which makes it feel like a liquid. So that's why it's more easier to pull the big heavy load which is used to build the pyramids. So that's why that's one method on how they found out how they built the pyramid. They just poured the water on the slab. They had like 2 pots. They took one pot, they poured it, and the other workers were pulling the big stones, and one brick was 1 pound. And the Great Pyramid...
1 ton, I think.
Yeah, 1 ton, not 1 pound.
1 ton is 1,000 kgs.
And 1,000 kgs. And...
You are 20. 1,000.
Yeah. And the Great Pyramid of Giza was built with 1 million of bricks.